The Perseverance mission on Mars has yet again proven to be a success. They are racking them up with NASA's Ingenuity helicopter that was on the craft, now having just become the first vehicle to successfully take flight on another planet. This is big. It is awesome. Science engagement astronomer from the observatory, Dr. Daniel Kadima, now joins us to tell us a little bit more. Dr. Dan, this is awesome. A historic moment for science, for space exploration, for NASA. We know that rovers have been sent to Mars before, but none that could give us an aerial visualization. This really is a milestone.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty insane to think that firstly, the landing of the rover was incredible. We have done that before, but to pull it all off, and then for this little helicopter to sit underneath the rover, you know, the rover drove off, let it sort of charge up its batteries in the sun, and then take flight. It's truly remarkable. I mean, the fact that we're even attempting such things is incredible.
The first step, I would imagine, in a very big rollout plan. But just so we can get into why people are making such a stir around this, Mars, with its atmosphere, is obviously a very difficult place to fly objects. Why is that?
Yeah, so the main thing really is that the atmosphere on Mars is very thin. So it's about 1% of the atmosphere on the Earth. So there's not a lot of air to push your wings down on. So the helicopter has to be very light. It's just under 2 kgs, and it has very fast rotors to try and get enough lift to take it off the ground. The other thing which is important and difficult is that the craft has to be completely autonomous, because it's such a small vehicle that can't communicate directly to Earth. Even if it could, it would take a matter of quite a few minutes before we could sort of get a signal and then tell it what to do next.
Bounce it back, yeah.
So it has to fly all by itself. It has to figure out, you know, where it's going, what's underneath it, and where to land, and it has to do that like on the fly by itself. Excuse the pun.
It really is amazing, and it's the start of something amazing. I'm sure that they've got big plans for this little guy. Week one. Have we gleaned anything from what it's been able to achieve and seen? How much did it actually do in its first flight? I would imagine just a small one. And what's next for it?
Yeah, so there'll be a series of test flights. The first couple are just to sort of see, you know, that it can do everything. It can go up and down, it can land, it can move left and right, and then it can obviously charge its solar panels and things. It's probably only got a month of life, maybe a little bit more. So they'll keep pushing it further away to look further and do more sort of dangerous maneuvers, until one of them isn't going to go well, and that'll be the end of it. This is a proof of concept. They want to do as much as they can in a very short period. They don't expect it to last very long. So I'm trying very hard not to get too attached to it.
It's too late, man. You've forced me to get an emotional attachment and investment in this little guy. But I like the idea of go big or go home, man. It's Top Gun vibes. It's like, you know, he's going to do something special. What are they hoping that this little guy is going to see?
Yeah, so the rover itself, Perseverance, can only travel, you know, quite a short distance a day, 20 meters or so, and it doesn't really know what's around it other than what it can see. So what the helicopter can do is it can fly up, and it can fly quite far away. It can fly up to like 300 meters away, which is days or weeks of travel for the rover. So it can go off, it can find out exactly what's around, and if it sees interesting objects and things, then we can direct the rover that direction and go and explore in more detail. So it basically can cover a large area of Mars in quite a short period of time, kind of map that for us, and plan the next year worth of missions for the rover. Why
is Mars so appealing to us as the human race? What is it about this planet that makes it such a source of science focus?
So I think there's a couple of things. Firstly, it's the closest planet to Earth in terms of similarity, you know, in terms of something which could sustain life. We've learned over the last couple of decades that Mars definitely had running water at some point in its history. But that means that it's the most likely place for life to have formed and evolved. If we can discover signs of past life on Mars, it changes our whole view of the universe in terms of what life can do and where it can form. If it formed independently on 2 different planets right next door to each other, I mean, it must be everywhere, right?
Yeah. Game on. I like the sound of that, and I think that there is this kind of impending holding of breath, this kind of feeling that we are going to discover something. There is going to be something big there, but on a very practical level, we're also seeing this as a place that we can habitate. And what sets Mars apart from other planets that kind of makes it a habitable planet, something that we are planning to actually send people to go and live there?
Once again, the water is a big factor. So there's still water on Mars. It's not a liquid state anymore, but there's a lot of ice on Mars, which means that we could survive on Mars. One of the primary things we need is water. Life needs water. If we want to grow potatoes like Matt Damon, then we need some water. It's got a decent gravity similar to our own. It is a sort of nearest habitable planet. The moon, we could put a lunar base on there, but there's not a lot of water on the moon. It's got very low gravity. It's not the most exciting place to be. Whereas Mars really could sustain a base for years and decades, but potentially permanently.
Potentially permanently, and I have no doubt that we're going to get there, and it's going to be happening in our lifetime, which is even more amazing. Well, buddy, I'm both enthused and greatly saddened by our discussion this morning. So thank you so much for letting me know that this little guy, the Ingenuity helicopter, the lifespan is not as long as I hoped it would be, but I have no doubt that it's going to tell us some incredible things about the Red Planet and, as you say, aid in the next phase of exploration. I'm just ruining that day when we've got to hear about Ingenuities crashing on the surface. But let's cross our fingers. Let's hope that doesn't come sooner rather than later. Buddy, as always, an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inspiring us and filling our head with these amazing thoughts of where humanity is going. I think Mars is becoming more and more of kind of that next frontier for us, which is so exciting. So thank you so much, my man.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me.